All right, we're back with the death lineup. Last week, we missed a week. We went dark. That is absolutely 100% my fault. I'm still actually getting over the effects of COVID-19. This thing just kind of hangs with you, man. You can't shake it. You had it a long time ago, though. How long did it
A
take you to
couple
get it?
months ago.
How
I
long did it
I
take to shake it?
yeah, I never got COVID up until maybe I don't know, June or July. And it probably took me like 5 days to get over, and I didn't start testing negative until a full week probably, or maybe more after I was first tested positive.
Yeah, I am on day 8, and I still have not tested negative.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just kind of feel, like how like sometimes when you get like a really bad cold and then you're like just don't have a ton of energy. Like that's kind of how I feel right
Yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah.
And I don't know. It's a weird thing. So
That's how I felt.
hopefully hopefully it passes so I can actually do something, actually exercise or something. All right, but we're going to go dark again, unfortunately, in 2 weeks because I'm going to be on a short vacation to the East Coast, and I won't get back until like Saturday. But I was actually kind of interested in what you thought, Bry. There's a Lakers game is the ninth. Like one of these upcoming playoff games. I don't know if it will be the Lakers game or the Portland game or the Denver game because those are like I think the last preseason games. Not even important preseason games, right? Like no preseason games really important. But one of these games will probably see a good amount of the starting team playing together, and they'll sort of treat it like a real game. But one of these upcoming preseason games would love to go live after the game just to do like a short thing with people who are watching to do. So we'll get creative with the schedule because the regular season starts in less than 3 weeks. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah. It definitely like came up quick because I mean, when did we last see them play? It's been pretty recent, So I understand like a lot of people are like, man, NBA basketball hasn't been in forever, and it's because their teams, didn't see the postseason. But for
Yeah.
us, it's hasn't been that long. And
Mm-mm.
plus, we went to like the game before summer league, the California Classic. Like I guess
Mm-hmm.
that kind of feels like a little long ago, but I mean, it kind of right from the championship kind of swung back into the whole summer league thing, and then now we have that time between summer league and now where it's kind of felt like a long time.
All right. So what are we going to hit on tonight? We're going to hit on Warriors are actually in Japan right now, and as of this recording, so the people who listen to us on podcasts probably won't even be able to listen to us until after they watch the Warriors tomorrow morning. The Warriors are going to tip off in like 10 hours or something like that. So that'll be, that'll be pretty fun for the folks who want to stay up until 3 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning
jeez.
on the West Coast. But if you're on the East Coast, stay up, you wake up about 6, get the game in before you start work. That's not a bad thing. So we'll talk about that. Warriors in Japan, Steph and Clay taking photos and Draymond with Suga. Is that that's a BTS guy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but
I
I thought those
think
guys aren't those guys Korean?
yes, they are.
Okay, but
I know some of them. I think some of them are Japanese. I'm not. I have no clue. I feel like I looked this up one time in my life, though. I don't know why I did, but I think maybe one or two of the guys are Japanese.
oh man, I
But
didn't
yeah,
know that.
it's K-pop.
I
So
didn't know that. That's very interesting. And then we're going to talk about this NBA rank, which it happened when we were dark. So maybe I think people have stopped talking about this by now, but we'll look at where the Warriors hit in the NBA rank. And then we'll look at Andre Iguodala coming back. We've been talking about this forever, and he's back. He went on. He did the video version of the podcast with Evan Turner. Evan was just sitting there smiling, looking dapper. And so Andre decided to come back, and then they did another short podcast with one of the Salesforce guys, which was actually pretty interesting. and so he's back. So we'll talk about him, and then we'll kind of look at the contract situation. We're just sort of making predictions, like you want the ins and outs. Kawakami had wrote something on Jordan Poole today, how they could afford him or sign him now. Draymond had the quote at the media day about how he doesn't think that he's going to get his deal redone anytime soon. And there's also Wiggins out there, and Wiggins doesn't really say anything, so we have no idea how he's feeling. So all right, let's talk about the first thing, which is the Warriors in Japan. I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the best way to find information about this. I think it's the Warriors Twitter account, maybe. I know there's an NBA Japan Twitter account as well, but Slater's out there and he hasn't written anything.
Yeah, where the hell is Slater?
I was waiting. I was waiting this morning for like the big opening night, opening day in Japan thing, and nothing from Slater. But I guess that's the best way to do it, is just follow the Twitter. You see, like I said, with Suga. And then Clay and Steph took photos with the 69th Yokozuna, and Clay was trying to move this guy, and it did not fare well for Clay. But they look like they're having a blast. Like this, this is all about the internationalization of basketball. Like 5 years ago, they went to China, so it's kind of a similar trip and just expanding the game. And so we'll get to see, like, the games themselves. It's just the Warriors and the Wizards, and the reason why the Wizards are there is because Rui Hachimura is half Japanese, and so they get him. And then of course Steph is giant. I think the Warriors jersey sponsor is Rakuten.
Yeah.
What does Rakuten do?
They're like a cashback.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's all I know, honestly. Never used it.
Okay, so I mean, is there anything that you've seen from the social media that has caught your eye as far as what's going on in Japan?
I think I've seen everything you've seen. I've seen the Steph conversation with Bradley Beal. That's about it. You know what? I should have looked into I think his name is Josh Robbins. I think he's the Wizards beat reporter for The Athletic. I haven't gone on his Twitter to see if he's been doing things, like posting things, because Slater's not really giving us anything.
I know, Slater, man. Tim and Marcus did a podcast already from home, and we still don't have anything from Slater.
So good too.
Yeah, it was good. So we'll see what happens. The game, like I said, is in about 10 hours, and I'm sure we'll have some thoughts. I kind of wish we recorded Friday instead of Thursday, but I think this was just the easiest for our schedule, because I'm just curious to see some of these guys. Who are you keeping an eye on the most? Like, give me your top like 2 or 3 guys who you're just gonna, like, why are you watching the fourth quarter of the Warriors' first playoff game? Who are you watching?
First preseason game?
Yeah, first preseason.
I'm probably right there with TK. I want to see Patrick Baldwin Jr. Like, I know what I'm gonna get out of like every single person on that roster, so I kind of want to know what I don't know, which is Rollins and Baldwin Jr. Maybe some Wiseman. There you go. There's my 3.
I think it's still Wiseman for me.
Yeah.
Like we know when they let Kuminga do Kuminga things, like we've seen that. We saw that in Summer League, and not all of it is great, by the way. JK sometimes gets into his own, and it's like, nope, that shot's not going in. So I kind of want to see Wiseman, because I imagine part of the strategy is to get Wiseman touches. Now, I don't know if these touches are going to be around the basket necessarily, but as we know, when it was Summer League Kuminga, Wiseman wasn't getting very many touches. So I want to see if they're going to run plays to get him in space, to get him alley-oops. I want to see him defensively. I want to see him, rebounding. And I really want to see him, like, I think they'll probably still have Looney start, but I would love to see Wiseman with Steph and Clay for how many ever minutes Steph and Clay are going to play. Like, let's see what Wiseman looks like with those guys. Let's see if they can find him and get him some open dunks and some alley-oops and stuff. So that's what I'm interested in. And I think Rollins is interesting as well, because there's like whispers about like the competitiveness, and Kawakami made a comment about he feels like a Memphis Grizzlies kind of player. I don't know if he meant like cheap shot and GP kind of player, while he's in the air, or like a trash talking guy, like a guy with a little bit of an edge. So we'll see, because that kind of perked my ears. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was one of those guys. So
Yeah.
all right, so let's talk about this NBA rank. I know you were probably following this a little bit more closely than I was, but Steph makes it into the top 5 for the second year in a row, but he stays in the same spot. He is number 5 again, just like last year, and the players that he is below are at number 4, Joel Embiid, at number 3, Luka Doncic, at number 2, Nikola Jokic, at number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. 2 of those guys, Steph beat him in the playoffs. I just want to make that clear. But yeah, he's sitting 5. What did you think about his rating?
Didn't like it, but I kind of understand it. If this is more of a ranking based on how he will do in like the regular season, including the playoffs, then I mean, I don't think he's going to play as many games as the other guys. Maybe not do as well in the regular season as the other guys, because I mean, he's a vet. What year is he going into? Like, I'm sure he's not, as geared up for the regular season in terms of like 100% caring, because how could you when you've done it for this many years? But we did our ranking on the BAM. I haven't released the second episode. We did the first episode, which was we did a top 25. So we did top 20. We did 25 or 16 through 25 on the first episode, and then we're doing 1 through 15 on the second one. We recorded the second one. Steph's number 3 on ours. I fought for it because I didn't want to end up on the wrong side of history. But the thing is, if you look at it from like a postseason perspective, like that's what really matters. And I mean, Steph's probably top 3 in that end. I think that's why we gave
Number
Jimmy
1.
Butler. Yeah, that's why we give Jimmy Butler a little bit of a bump on our list too, because I mean, the guy shows up in the postseason. He just really only plays like 50 to 60 games in the regular season.
So right after Steph was LeBron. Did the LeBron fan base cry foul here on this ranking for LeBron?
Oh, we had him at 9.
Oh man. Well, okay, so you had LeBron at 9, which means ahead of LeBron were probably the 5 guys that were in the top 5 on the ESPN list, and then had to be Tatum,
Yeah,
KD,
yeah.
Uh,
Injured all of last year is the last guy.
Injured all of last year.
Plays on the Clippers.
Oh, Kawhi.
Yeah.
I thought I injured all of last year. I was going to be like, wait, Zion is higher than LeBron? And what about Ja? Did you have Ja on there?
I think we had Ja. We might have had Ja above LeBron. I don't think we did. No, I don't think we would have.
All right. Yeah, I thought this stuff is kind of fun. It's mostly there just to get people talking. I know Jaylen Brown was at number 22, and he's up 5 spots from the previous year. Man, I don't know where he should be, but he was scary. That's kind of how I rank guys when I look at this, is how do they play against the Warriors?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I would have had Grant Williams right outside the top 500. but that's kind of how I do. It's like, oh, like, am I scared of this guy? Like, am I scared of Ja? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I scared of Jokic? Kind of, but not really, because he doesn't have the pieces around him to beat the Warriors. But if they do come back next year with Murray and Porter Jr. and they are healthy and they play well together and they sort of kind of get it right into gear, then yeah, I'll be really scared of Jokic as well. Luka, sort of the same thing. I never thought, we did the whole series last year. We never thought Luka had the guys to beat the Warriors, so there wasn't really that fear. But the fear was in him, like putting the team on his back and just going like, "Let's go." I think Giannis at number 1 is probably right, though. I think he's the best player. And he's the guy who can still single-handedly take over a game, just to put the team on his back and win. But it very, very interesting list. And I know the NFL does the same thing, and they actually make it a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of wondering if, like, why doesn't ESPN make it a TV show? They should, like, do the whole like countdown, like just like the NFL does, and they would get
I would probably watch it. Yeah.
yeah, they would get way more publicity, just like the NFL's list. But I actually the thing is I don't know how they do their rankings, so that they may have to explain that as well. But KD went from number 1 all the way down to number 8, and my guy didn't do anything wrong except for ask for a trade.
Except for get his butt kicked against the Boston Celtics.
He's the only guy left. Like
Kyrie played, he got swept.
My God,
He didn't even play that well.
KD, man, KD.
I think he was number 7 on our list.
Disrespected. KD's just disrespected right
number
now.
6, maybe. I think he was number 6 or 7.
I think KD's gonna start writing people's names down, so you better watch out. He's gonna come at people. Just know, KD, on my list, you're always in the top 5, but on Bry's list, he put you on 7.
All right, do a top 5. Do a top 5 off the top of your head.
Okay, but my top 5 is gonna be very biased because, okay, here's how I would do it. I would go Giannis 1.
Yep.
I would go Steph 2.
Fair.
I would go Luka 3.
You gotta go Jokic 3, man.
No,
like,
I go Luka 3. You know why?
Back-to-back MVP.
Yeah, but you could play centers off the floor. Like I just remember watching how frustrated he was last year, and he probably just wishes he was a guard because he's like, man, if I'm a guard, I can do all these crazy things to put the team on my back, but because I'm a center and I'm 7 feet tall and I don't run very fast, I can't do that. But again, it's a biased thing because what this Warriors since 2015 has shown us is it's wings, right? It's ball handlers and wings, and that's how you win championships. And so that's why I have Giannis number 1, because he does both. He handles the ball. He's their best wing defender. He's their I'm gonna get a bucket guy. And so that's why I would have him. I would have Luka ahead of Jokic. I'd probably put Jokic like 5. But then who would be 4? I guess KD would be 4, right?
Yeah, that's what you said. KD had to be top 5. That's the only spot left.
Yeah, and
I just feel like this is the same disrespect that Steph was getting that we were so annoyed with. Back-to-back MVP, and he's still not X. Like after all the ESPN stuff, and we're just watching it happen to Joker.
Steph won a championship and then won the most games ever in the regular season. Back-to-back years.
I hear the criticism, but if we look at that Nuggets roster that we just killed, if we talk about their second best player, Aaron Gordon, where does he face up against the Warriors? Like you'd go Jokic 1 or Steph 1, Jokic 2, and then you go Warrior all the way and down until Aaron Gordon. I think it's the teammates, and now that he has Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back, still like I'd put a lot of Warriors probably before them. But it's
if Jokic, I'm gonna give it to him right here. I hope he's listening. If Jokic wins the title next year, I'll put him at number 1.
Yeah, but don't you want to be ahead of the curve? That's kind of how I feel. Like I want to be ahead of the curve on this stuff. I don't want to just put him low and then he proves me wrong. I'd rather put him right and then maybe he proves me
but
right.
Being ahead of the curve is like saying Cade Cunningham's going to be a top 10 player this year. Like that's
just way too ahead of the curve. That's just not going to happen. But okay, sneaky. I know this is not a Denver Nuggets podcast, but sneaky addition I feel like is KCP at the 2, man. 3-and-D guy. We just watched how much Jokic kicked out to his shooters and they couldn't hit a shot. KCP will hit that shot. They got Bruce Brown as well, who kind of was in a Draymond role in the Brooklyn Nets team. I think that's a good ad. These are a good team. I have them number 1 on my Western Conference rankings. Like
ahead of the Warriors
in regular season. Yes, I have them. Just I think they'll care about it more. Doesn't say I think they're better than the Warriors. I think they'll have a better regular season because they'll.
You know who the Warriors play in Game 2 at San Francisco? The Denver Nuggets. Back to back. Those are 2 awesome. And even that Sacramento game, 3 games to start the season. Sacramento's always fun, at least in the beginning of the season, because there's always hope that they figured it out, and it's sort of the Mike Brown homecoming. But right out of the gate,
did you see who was at the Sacramento Kings facility?
Sugar?
Barry Bonds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he friends with Mike Brown?
I'm guessing it's Vivek.
Oh, Vivek. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I guess Barry Bonds also did the version of the Manning cast that they do for baseball with A-Rod. Barry Bonds was on that, and supposedly people really liked him, which Barry Bonds is a lovable guy right now. He's not the angry guy that all of these beat writers see in their nightmares. He's just a lovable guy right now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, the opening season, Lakers, Denver, Sacramento, that'll be fun, and then they go to Phoenix in Game 4 and Miami in Game 5. Nice little kickoff to the season for them. So just to quickly, I'll just where everyone else on the Warriors fell. So the second highest Warrior, if you would have asked me, and I didn't think about it, I would have been like, oh yeah, Clay's second. But if I thought about it, then I go, wait, is Clay ahead of Wiggins? Wiggins at number 32.
Yes,
What do you think
sir.
about that? So he was right in the middle of so 35, 34, 33 was Cade, Marcus Smart, Kyrie Irving, and then right after Wiggins, so 31 through 29, Chris Middleton, Pascal Siakam, Brandon Ingram. I think that's pretty good. I
didn't
would
like it.
I would put Wiggins ahead of Ingram. But yeah, I think that's around, if Wiggins played a little bit more like that. What was the one game where he went and dunked on somebody? Was that the finals or was that the Western Conference finals?
It was
Yeah,
Dallas.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
like Game 4, I think, or Game 3.
If he played like that, like a little bit more, like you can't play like that constantly. Like you just can't be so ferocious like that. But he could probably score a little bit better and a little bit more efficiently just by getting to the bucket.
Yeah.
And but I feel like that's right. I would just want Wiggins a little bit more than Ingram because defensively, like as we saw in the finals, he was just so good. But yeah, I like that. I like where he was. Clay was 37, so right in front of Clay. So 36 through 34 was Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, Marcus Smart. Should Marcus Smart be ahead of Clay?
No.
I'm not so sure
Marcus
about
Smart
that.
is I have so many complaints about him as a player. But I like a lot of things about Marcus Smart, but no, he shouldn't be.
And then from 40 through 38, Zion, Scotty Barnes, and Fred VanVleet. I feel like Zion is also going to be taking names this year. Zion and KD, they're writing names down. So I hope you guys ranked Zion okay on your list.
21 or 20 for us.
Okay, because he looks like he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And Jordan Brand needs him to have a good season because they need to sell some shoes.
Yes.
And yeah, I like that. So Clay, yeah, I would have put Clay in front of Marcus Smart, but those are some young dogs in there with Mobley and Cunningham. I find it funny when they do that though, like they'll like group like all the young players together, like Mobley and Cunningham drafted 1 and 2. They're like right next to each other.
Well, I think Clay is someone who could potentially go up as the season progresses. Like, I mean, I think they're basing it off of the Clay who is a sharpshooter, maybe not as much as a guard stopper, more of like a wing defender now. But if he is able to somehow like do what he did in the finals defensively, like he'd be like 26 or 27.
Yeah, but and contracts should matter and stuff like this. Like he's like one of the highest paid players in the league, and if you're putting together a roster, yeah, you don't want Clay with that contract because he makes almost $50 million. But just player for player, I think 37 is probably a little high for my taste, but I understand just because he's coming off of 2 injuries, and now this is the year to prove himself. There you go. There's 3 people who are taking names. KD, Zion, and Clay. All right, Draymond at number 43. So right in front of Draymond for 42 through 40 would be DeJounte Murray, LaMelo Ball, and then Zion. And then right after Draymond, Darius Garland, CJ McCollum, Tyrese Maxey. He's kind of in a weird mix of players there because he is a little more one-dimensional than those guys are, but his one dimension is better than everybody else's one dimension, I feel. But yeah, not he's gonna. I found it interesting that he was number 16 in 2018, which is not that long ago. But yeah, he's just kind of been going backwards in these rankings for the last few years.
I think people are just betting on what happened last year, where like injuries might start catching up and play effect into his defense. And if there's any year, like I think I would bet on it, it'd probably be this year. But I think that, we've said it on this podcast before. You've said it, is that it's not essentially like, he's losing athleticism, but at the same time he's playing it with like his instincts, and he's maybe jumping a half a second before he would usually do to just make up for that when he comes to deflecting a shot or blocking a shot or things like that.
And then making his debut on this list at number
Kevon Looney?
55. I think Kevon may have been 101. Jordan Poole at number 55. 3 players ranked before him were De'Aaron Fox, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jarrett Allen. So those guys were 54 through 52. And then right after Poole, so 56 through 58, Robert Williams, Vucevic, and Tobias Harris. I would rather have Jordan Poole than probably all 6 of those guys, except for maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., just because of the possibilities of who he can become. But Jordan Poole fits very well with all of those guys. Robert Williams, we saw him in the playoffs. He was hurt, but he was a menace. He was a menace at the rim. But that's really what it looks like he is currently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see him as anything more than that, but he was really good and disruptive. Vucevic is more of an old school scoring big. I still don't really see how he's going to help Chicago in that way. Because I don't know, like again, I just look at this as like, how would the Warriors, if Vucevic was playing awesomely, how would the Warriors play him? And they'd go small and they'd take him off the court, and then that's how they would win. Tobias Harris, he's a little bit more of a, I think people just expect more out of him than he really is. And if they valued him for actually what he does, he would probably have a little bit better of a name in the league. And Fox,
it's also because of his contract.
Sure, yeah, but like we said, contract shouldn't matter in this thing. And then De'Aaron Fox, I don't know, I like Jordan Poole better than De'Aaron Fox.
I feel like that's a guy who's going to be taking names this year, is De'Aaron Fox.
Okay, can De'Aaron Fox shoot the basketball? Because if he can shoot basketball, then I'm in on him. But if he can't shoot the basketball, then what can you do? It's very hard to be a non-shooting ball handler in this league.
I mean, you've got to be like the John Morant, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook. You got to be like an athletic freak and just dunk, like be a dunk threat like every single time you drive. And
his 3-point shooting last year was 29.7%. which is actually lower than his career high. So it's not going the correct way.
Well, okay. So one thing I will say about De'Aaron Fox is there's actually like 3 Kings fans in the BAM. And I've seen this a lot on Kings Twitter as well. There's this certain point where they say, like, if you look at from February after the All-Star break to the end of the season, like, it looks really good. And so, that's what they've been pumping.
I like him.
Like his stats from one date to the end of the season.
I like him. I just don't know if he can actually get to that top level, because he's actually shooting less threes now than he did less threes now than he did last year. But
Interesting team.
Probably because he's not making them. So he still score. He scored the ball. He scored 25 a game 2 years ago, 23 a game last year. We'll see. I would love to see the Kings be good again. I have no problem with the Kings being a good basketball team. It's better. I think it's better for basketball if they have a good franchise. So, All right. So that is the list here. And let's take a look at somebody who we've been talking a lot about. What do you expect from one Andre Iguodala here? Now that he said he's coming back, he's in Japan with the team right now. He couldn't play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the piano. He had to ask for help on that. I saw that on Twitter. But what are we expecting from Andre? And while you do that, I'm gonna pull up his basketball reference page so we see what he did last year. But as far as like minutes, as far as how much he plays? What are you looking at?
Oh man, I think I'm looking at. I'm not necessarily looking at minutes. I thought that Kawakami said on the pod, he was like, who would I rather have guarding Paul George? Is it Andre Iguodala, or I forgot the other player he said, or maybe he was just saying he'd rather have Iguodala guard Paul George. There's like a play that like forever will stick in my mind last year when they were playing the Clippers, and Paul George did the most simple in and out ever, and I think Iguodala's body was just like not working with him, and Iguodala fell, and I was like, oh man, like are we really about to see like see one of the Warriors legends that I've watched growing up just like deteriorate in front of my eyes? And then he probably went and missed 30 games after that. I think what happened, but I don't know if I trust Iguodala to be put on your best player now. I think he's just a help defender because he's he could still do that and his IQ is really good. But when it comes to minutes, I don't really know. I don't think there's a consistent minutes thing out there for him because I genuinely think it's going to be the same tale as last year unless they like make it like a really low minutes per game because I think they could play him and then he's out and then they play him again and then he's out. So I would personally like to see, I don't know, more of like a ramp up instead of just throwing him into the fold, throwing him into the fire right away.
So he averaged in the 31 games, he averaged just under 20 minutes a game, which is
Yeah, that's
his
too much.
second lowest ever in his career. I think it was the bubble season. He averaged 19. He averaged also just under 20, but a little bit more. I think the thing that yeah, he should play less. And he even said it, right? He said to Kuminga and Moody, if you see me on the court, then that means like something y'all did wrong, possibly. The thing that he needs to do, and I know this is we haven't seen it consistently since the 2016-17 season. He just needs to hit the corner three. 36.2% on 2.3 takes in 16-17. Since then, 28.2%, 33.3%, 29.8%, 33%, and last year, 23% from three-point land. I think if he can shoot that a little bit more effectively, then his 15 minutes, if that's the thing, maybe like 6 minutes to end the half, and then in the fourth quarter he plays like 5 or 6 minutes, so maybe even less than 15, maybe it's like 12.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's only shooting 23% from three, I don't even know if he sees 15 minutes a game because they just have alternate guys to go in. Like, who if Andre's shooting 23% from three-point land, wouldn't you just rather give those minutes to Moody because Moody needs to get those takes up and he needs to be able to hit these big shots and probably can shoot 35% in his sleep from that area. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for Andre. The other thing is his overall field goal percentage has just crashed these last 2 years. 38% last year, 38.3% in his second Miami year. So he's not shooting it confidently. He's probably not shooting it that much because he knows that he's not a great shooter at this point. So I hope that if he can be out there, let's get back to the mid 30s range as far as shooting the three, because then he can play, because like you said, the defense stuff and he's a spot guy, but you want him to be a good spot guy. You don't want him to be a spot guy where the Jalen Rose thing, open for a reason. I would hate to see that. So
he was last year. I feel like the thing about those 3-pointers that you said his percentage was low, like I genuinely feel like in those 30 games plus the playoffs, I could probably remember each Andre Iguodala 3-point shot. I just felt like he didn't took them. I'd be interested to know the totals of that last season, because it's got to be, I don't think it's anything above like 50 to 60. I think that might even be high, So
yeah,
I mean, with like, I don't want to say it because I don't think he'll be that, but like, I don't even know if I should say it, but the Udonis Haslam thing, where it's like he's really just there to pump up the team. With Iguodala, I'm more looking at him to, like, I think we said on this podcast, like, I just wouldn't feel, I don't know how I feel about JK unless Iguodala's there. Like I feel
Yeah.
like Iguodala really does help Kuminga. And you look at some of the sideline stuff that he did in the playoffs where he's really talking to Wiggins. Like it kind of felt like stop getting in your own head or stop being, whatever. Iguodala's words just weigh heavy. They
Yeah.
weigh heavier than because it's easy to relate to as a player, and a player that's done it at the highest level. So I think that as much as we don't want to give him the Udonis label, like he'd be better at what Udonis's role is than Udonis. So I do expect him to play though, like you said, maybe 10 to 12 minutes a game. Like I think that's fine. But what TK said about the PG stuff, like I just still can't get that exact play. Like right when he said Paul George, is like I literally remember this exact play that happened.
So who's
Most
guarding
simple
Paul
in and
George?
out. It's Wiggins or
Wiggs.
Kuminga.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's got to be Wiggs.
Well, who guards Kawhi?
Then who guards Kawhi?
Yeah.
Clay?
No. I think Clay's got to guard PG then.
Yeah.
I think they need to. I mean, Kuminga was really showing us some stuff. How we kept saying like he was guarding DeMar DeRozan when the Bulls were hot. He went and had a couple of plays on KD. Like this guy can. I feel like he really could be what they used to do with Clay, where it's like just go guard the best player. Like we can't teach you this help defense stuff. That's Kuminga. Like just go guard the best guy and he'll do fine.
Yeah. No, I think that's what we're hoping for. And no, don't sleep on Moses Moody and make him have to start writing a list here. That was your guy in the playoffs. It was all about getting Moody on the court. When is Moody?
He's gonna play more than Kuminga too. Like he's going to play more. I'm really confident on that Moody is going to have a rotation spot, like a consistent rotation spot. I think Kuminga's got to fight his way in it like he did last year.
Yeah. All right, let's end this by talking about predictions. Do you think, I'm just going to ask you flat out, do the Warriors sign Jordan Poole to a new contract when they come back from Japan, or will this thing linger all the way through to next season and then he's going to be a restricted free agent?
I hope it doesn't linger because it's easy. Again, MT and Kawakami said it, or Slater on the podcast. It's like, well, the Warriors will just like, if that happens, it'll linger and then they'll immediately match whatever like Orlando throws at him, right? But we just saw what happened with the DeAndre Ayton situation. Like he doesn't look happy at all.
Yeah.
So I just hope it doesn't linger for that fact. I want to know why isn't Wiggins like almost number one when it comes to extension? Isn't he unrestricted? Like I'd want to get him locked up. I feel like he's going to have a lot of suitors. Like you said, the wings are like the most important. He's a two-way wing. That's like everyone's dying for that. Like I'm sure there's so many teams that are looking for a guy like Wiggins. I'd be more interested on seeing the contract extension for Wiggs, being that he's unrestricted, being that the Warriors can't match that in the offseason.
Okay, so here's why I think that they're willing to let the Wiggins thing go to, and maybe they aren't. Maybe he's number two, or maybe they feel like Poole is not, they're not sure, and Poole kind of wants to wait and see. Though, if you're Jordan Poole and you want to play that wait and see game, you're kind of reliant on Steve Kerr playing you, right? And not to say that the Warriors would specifically lower his minutes to pull down his value. That's not what it is at all. But I would just like my mind. I'm not sure I would be trusting of everything. Just thinking that that I'm betting on myself, and yet it's not like I can say how many minutes I get. So, but going back to the Wiggins thing, I think the reason is because they've sort of created their team with the idea that they may not need him. Now, then last year, he goes crazy and has a great playoffs and is now actually more valuable to them than ever before. But if you drafted Moody and you drafted Kuminga as possibilities of guys who can maybe replace Wiggins down the line, I think you're less worried about losing him. And they should be worried about losing him, by the way, but you're a little bit less worried about losing him than you are worried about losing Jordan Poole, because that's a ball handler, scorer, and those are like you don't have any of them. Like name guys in the NBA who handle the basketball and who get buckets when you need buckets as guards. It's like,
and can play make.
Yeah, and can play make. Ja, obviously, Ja's the up and coming guy, but they probably see Jordan Poole as maybe not the replacement for Steph, but as the guy who can just kind of slide in as Steph gets older and take over and such. So that's why I think that they rank Poole a little bit more highly in that structure. But look, Wiggins proved himself. So I just don't know if they can you give Wiggins a raise? I don't know because his value, his base. So when he signed his deal in 2018, his base salary was 25 million, and then every year it went up by about 2 million.
Mhm.
So this year he's playing at 33, and that's a good number for him. I think if he wants to sign another long-term deal, I don't know if the average probably doesn't quite get to 33, but it may get to the 30, 31 range. So we'll see. We'll see what he wants to do, though. Maybe he's like, "Hey, man, I want to be my own guy." Well, look, can I be my own guy again after being drafted to be his own guy in Minnesota, and then now being like such a glue guy? Maybe he does want to be his own guy again. We'll see. But
That'd be
I
so
would hope.
fun.
I would hope not, but
I would
we'll
hope
have
he's
to
a
see.
little bit smart. But I think the Warriors, I kind of hope they don't have the mindset that you just said they might have, because I feel like they might have the mindset of Wiggins likes it here. We reformed his career. He kind of likes not being the guy. He's fine with being a 2 or a 3 guy. He'll come back to us. If we wait it out to unrestricted free agency and we give him a contract, he'll come back to us. I feel like that might be their mindset. I don't know if that's the right mindset either, though.
And so here's why Draymond probably is not going to get his deal done, and why he understands this. He's not even a free agent until after next year. So you could take care of the Poole and Wiggins thing, and then we can figure out when this money, when the cap goes up again, and then worry about Draymond. He's an unrestricted free agent after the 23-24 season, not after the 22-23 season.
Do you know when the new TV deal is? Is it 2024 or 2025? Because I know that matters. Because I've heard contracts are going to be like astronomical. So I feel like it would be pretty good to get a lot of these done for multiple years, and then say Poole signs a 25 to a $30 million per year
I think it's the
deal.
24-25 season is when they would renew.
Yeah. I'm just interested, like, because I've never paid attention to basketball this closely when a new TV deal hits. So I'm interested on what a player like Jordan Poole, say $25 to $30 million per year, 5 years, what that looks like in a new TV deal. Is that like $45 million a year for 5 years? Like, does it really jump that much?
Yeah, we'd have to see how it affects the salary cap. I think this happened in the 16
Yeah,
season.
it's the KD year. That's why we were able to get him, right?
Salary cap spike in 2016. I think there was a thing where this may have been a players union thing where they call it cap smoothing, like, so you can actually set the escalators where the cap just kind of gradually goes up. But I think the players voted for like a spike where it just all went up for like the one season. Um, and I'm just reading this Tim Bontemps thing that he wrote. I probably can't find out exactly what the decision was, but search for it. It's the 2016 salary cap spike, and I think it was like the players could vote on how this money came into effect, because it shot up and it allowed the Warriors to sign KD. So yeah, it's kind of it's a big moment for basketball history, the way that it affected everything.
Yeah.
All right, so we are done with this episode of the Death Lineup. We'll be back next week, but we're going to miss the following week, and then by the time we come back, it's already like the season is starting. So that's going to be a blast. And like I said, I'd like to do some like live thoughts, like immediate hot takes after games this season, if we can, do that every once and again. You can't do it a lot because
Is all 82 coined yet?
Can yeah, we should figure out a way. The death lineup. Yeah, so some
30 out of
fun,
82.
yeah, some fun Fun name. Fun recap. I guess we can't call it Spotify Live either. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll be back next week for Bry. Oh, actually, you know what? I didn't ask you. Give us an update on what's happening with the BAM.
Kind of said in the beginning, but we're having our top 25, 1 through 15, come out sometime this week. We already recorded it. I got to put it out. We are having a guest on, maybe 2 next week from the Athletic. Kelly Eco does
I know that.
does Rockets.
Raptors? Oh,
Rockets.
Rockets. Yeah, you're right.
Rockets. And then Tony Jones does the Jazz.
Nice.
So for the Athletic. So those 2. For sure, Kelly, potentially.
Who got in the DMs?
That's always me, man.
I thought it was Obi.
Obi did Krasinski, yeah, but like Obi did 1. Obi's 1 for 1. He just did Krasinski and just stopped. I'm probably like 3 for like 70.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We need to get James Edwards though.
I emailed him. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to get because I think he covers the team in there's a new school of sort of beat writers, right? Like Anthony Slater, he covers the team so obsessively for the fan base that I think like Anthony Slater is like the perfect beat writer. If you could put a beat writer together, it's Anthony Slater. And I see a lot of younger guys like that. Actually, I don't know how old James Edward is, but just the style of his writing, the way he talks, like I could sort of tell, he's probably younger than me. So
I think he's in his 30s.
Yeah, so
maybe low 30s.
There's a nice little angle for the beat writers now because the basketball audience is young. That's why, I think it's one of the youngest sports audiences for the big 4 sports and yeah, those guys can relate. So that would be a cool one to get. I would be interested to see.
And I really like Slater because I genuinely feel like he's not a fan of my team. So I kind of like that like non-biased perspective from him sometimes.
Yeah.
And James Edwards I think grew up in Michigan though.
Good old
Detroit,
Slate.
So.
Come on, Slate. Give us something to read about Warriors in Japan. Sheesh.
The hell are you doing up there? It's just a free vacation.
All right. So, we'll be back next week. So for Bry, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.